welcome to another episode of Getting Hammered. It's a little bit of a New Year's edition. Look, we're late, but that's how I do everything, okay? This is what we're doing. We're going to talk about New Year's and New Year's resolutions, and normally people would do that maybe the last week of December. Not us, Vic.
No. I thought that we were going to do our favorite Thanksgiving stuffings.
I'm an innovator. Here's what I'm doing. A week into your New Year's resolutions, I'm holding you accountable.
Yeah, that's right. How's it going? Right?
Let's think about it. But before we do that, we do need to do a little Trump update.
We do.
Because, I mean, not that there's not going to be more Trump news if we just wait till the next show, but
yeah,
the news this time is pretty big, which is that in Colorado, the Supreme Court of that state decided that Trump should not be on the primary ballot due to Article 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they say precludes him because he was involved in an insurrection,
right,
and therefore can't participate. Now, this will no doubt be appealed to the Supreme Court, although I'm not sure it has been yet. There's slow movement on that.
Yeah, no, there's no decision on the Supreme Court.
Well, no, I mean, the actual appeal part.
Yeah, you're right. Unclear.
So it will be appealed, and then the Supreme Court will no doubt say, no, you can't kick him off the ballot without due process because he hasn't been charged with insurrection, much less found guilty of insurrection. And then all the libs will then say, because the Colorado Supreme Court overstepped, they'll be like, aha, the Supreme Court stopping them shows that the Supreme Court is illegitimate.
Bush v. Gore, Part 2.
Right. Which, by the way, was a case that Gore brought to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And it's also worth, it's also worth remembering that a consortium of newspapers afterwards went back to recount, and in 4 out of 5 or 3 out of 4 different ways of counting, including the way that Al Gore preferred the chance to be counted, he lost by the same number or more.
Yes. The tally kept going up.
This is things that we remember.
Look, I was a young person at the time. Yeah. I was in college. But you know what was a thing that I knew, Vic, that I understood quite clearly, is that if you have lost, you don't get to count until you win.
Yeah.
Which was the request of the Gore campaign. Okay, so that's how that ended up at SCOTUS. This will also end up at SCOTUS, and we will keep you updated on that. Meanwhile, in Maine, a single public figure, Secretary of State, just decided he can't be on the ballot because insurrection. Look, I don't like the guy.
Right.
But
what happened on January 6th was horrendous.
And this is not the way to deal with it. I would argue that, and perhaps I should have been louder about this at the time, although I don't believe I was on television at the time because CNN was keeping me off. But the way to deal with it would have been to do the impeachment and conviction post January 6th as he was leaving office. At which point I naively thought, well, he's going to be out of office. We're ever going to be done with this guy.
No, 2028. He'll be running again in 2028.
The point being,
if he loses, he'll be.
I think
even if he wins, he might be running.
I know. He does. Yes.
Okay.
Overstepping.
Yeah.
In order to save democracy by sort of subverting democracy, and not even really sort of in this case. You're taking a person off the ballot who is qualified for the ballot.
That's right.
And preventing people from voting for him. I don't think it's wise, and I think it empowers him. It's bad news.
People who they want to prevent you from having that option because they believe that he had done something terrible. But of course, as you mentioned, there is a thing called due process.
Yes. And
he hasn't gone through that. Jack Smith, the special prosecutor, if you will, also has not charged him for his actions of January 6th.
Right.
But you have something like the Colorado State Supreme Court who has decided this, or the Secretary of State in Maine who has decided this based on, again, as you mentioned, 14th Amendment, Article 3. But the terminology is very specific regarding insurrection involving an officer.
Right.
And it's unclear if the president is an officer, if that counts. Bill Barr.
It's not mentioned by name, the president in particular.
That's right. The president's not mentioned by name. Bill Barr in the Free Press has written on this just now, saying how he opposes Trump and he opposes all attempts to ban Trump.
Yeah.
So
the thing is, like, I do think I agree with those who think he needs to be, I think he's unqualified, has disqualified himself on numerous occasions. and he should be expelled from the body politic, but he should be expelled via politics.
Yeah, the proper way versus we're just not going to have him on.
And that's not up to me. That is up to
No.
a lot of people making their arguments and him losing, which
That's
I don't
right.
know if will happen, but that's...
It is also worth the implications involving the judiciary, in this case, a very progressive judiciary, in it's worth going back to understanding the separation of powers, because you now have cases where these judges would like to not only interpret the law, but then also to create the law.
Yeah.
And this is happening, by the way, tangentially related in Wisconsin with the congressional map that was thrown out. And if you can't come up with one, the judges will come up with one. This is happening. And again, I understand people who do not want Trump to be president.
Yeah.
But how far are they going to go to prevent him from becoming president is the question.
Well, and how much work are they actually doing to make him president? That's the other question.
And to make him president.
Right.
Because right now, he's going to cruise through even if he gets banned from California, he's staying on the ballot, you know. And so, even if a few states here and there.
And arguably, I think
he's still going to cruise his way to the nomination.
It's not a reach to say that the cynical play here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do believe there are some true believers who think, haha, he definitely is disqualified. Now, I think it's like a reach of a legal theory, much like many of the legal theories applied to him. I think there are some true believers, but I think largely this is let's solidify him as the Republican nominee because we have a weak nominee.
Right.
And what we really need to bail us out
is somebody who a lot of people hate.
Is a really hated Republican nominee.
And that makes sense.
But it's, again, it's playing with fire.
Yeah.
If from that point of view, because Biden is unprecedentedly weak. Yeah. So here we are.
The Suffolk poll that just came out has him also at 39%. So he continues to be in the 30s.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes, y'all.
Taking an awful risk is, All
right. But you know what?
As Grand Moff Tarkin said, it's episode 4. You're taking an awful risk, Vader. Well, better be worth it.
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to look forward.
Okay, let's do this.
Yeah, we're having Zen. We're going to have a Zen moment. Do you make New Year's resolutions?
Not really.
I'm sure we've discussed this before.
I have tried in the past. I don't know how well I do with it. I don't know. I really don't. I think I like the idea of it. I don't think I follow up well, but a couple things.
Make New Year's cocktails, not promises.
Speaking of which, I'd like to start the show, not really start since we already started, with an on-air apology.
Oh.
Yes. So, you had kindly tweeted out about getting ready to go, that I would make you a martini. It was not my best martini.
Oh, I thought it was great.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like to take, first of all, had I known you were going to have the martini, I would have taken the glass and put it in the freezer to get it chilled, right? And take the gin, have it chilled in the freezer. I did use a great gin, which was Sipsmith.
That was delicious.
Not the flavored Sipsmith, which you can get different flavors, just regular London dry gin. I will reveal here on air my ratio is 3-1, and the one is of Dolan vermouth. You need to use a really good
I'm writing it down.
Vermouth. There are a lot of good ones out there. Actually, I lie. I normally use Dolan. This particular vermouth was a gift from our friend Andy.
Okay.
And it's lo-fi.
Lo-fi.
And it's from California, I think, but you can find it.
That sounds California.
Yes, and you can't find it everywhere, but it is a delicious vermouth. And so vigorously stir that on the raw with ice, and then a couple drops of orange bitters, as Derek Brown, the great mixologist, once taught me, just to sort of make it a little bit more gentle.
Okay.
And then I gave it to you with a twist. Do you prefer olives?
No.
So.
But I told you.
I thought you were just being kind.
No, I felt like my horizons were widened.
Okay.
That I had.
Yes.
Because I do not drink it with a twist.
No, normally I don't either.
And it was lovely. It was very refreshing.
There are certain gins that pair well with lemon, with a twist, Hendrick's, because it's more cucumbery. But I would have done more of an effort. As you know, it was a bit of a mob scene.
You had a lot of people there.
I had to squeeze my way into my little bar in the corner. And by the way, I did make my pitcher of Manhattans. I didn't tell everybody. It was actually chocolate Manhattans. The reason why it's chocolate is I used Fee Brothers has Aztec dark chocolate bitters.
Okay.
So instead of my usual orange bitters or black walnut, which is also nice, I used that. And people initially did not think that it was strong, and they not realizing it's all spirits.
Right.
I made 2+ liters.
Wow.
And it was done by 10 p.m. I had sent a picture of it. I'd been texting back and forth with our friend Sonny Bunch for New Year's. I sent him a picture of some of our friends there and said the picture is empty. And Sonny said, I'm not surprised at all. Look at all. They're just a crew of drunk people. They're all drunks. So, yeah, with a few exceptions, it's true.
We were the exception because we came for an hour and a half. Because
I didn't get enough time to spend with you guys.
Well, and we apologize for that. But, when you got all the kids, the thing is, our lovely au pair wants to go hang out and experience New Year's in America. And we want her to be able to do that. So we said to her, can we take the early shift? We'll go out like the old people that we are.
Crazy.
You put the kids to bed, and we'll come back in time for you to go out like a proper young person around 10 or 10:30. And so she went out and enjoyed herself.
Did she have a good time?
Yes.
Okay, probably with a lot of energy and verve and going crazy.
She's ready to go. Whereas I was like watching The Crown at 11:17.
The last season? Are you watching the last season of it? Okay, so it brings us basically to
modern day.
Okay.
We're at Kate and Will's starting to date right now.
How does the Kate look? I saw a glance of her.
She's very well cast.
Yeah.
Very well cast.
Okay. I do also want to thank your husband for the gift he gave me, which was a power press. And as I mentioned to you on text, I was hoping he was going to give me something so complicated that I'm going to look and say, I don't know what to do with this. As soon as I took it out, and I was like, it's going to be hard to assemble. No, number one, pretty
Very
straightforward
simple,
how to assemble. Number two, I immediately knew what it is. The only thing I haven't figured out on the power press is there's a chart.
Okay.
And then you're supposed to follow all these different things, none of which I can do at the moment with my back.
So the power press is simply a board that has
you insert it in pegs.
You have like handles that you can change positions in order to do, for instance, a tricep push-up or a push-up that concentrates on your pecs, whatever it is. Your shoulders, you can change the direction of your handles, and then you can get a more well-rounded workout.
Multiple pegs to use it. So what happened, of course, is my son tried it out, and he thought it was amazing. He was sweating. I'm like, but
I'll pass for a couple of weeks.
I do have a gift for your husband.
Okay.
And look, and if you're on air, you get to see it. Look at this. The prop is right here. It is not from the organic butcher. That's just the bag.
Ooh.
Yes. You can show our listeners. This is a bottle of Long Branch bourbon, which is, mesquite barreled.
Oh, he's going to enjoy that.
It's from the makers of Wild Turkey. And here's, who the backer of this, who joined forces with Wild Turkey to make Long Branch? Matthew McConaughey.
Oh.
So
this is right
that's why I figured it would be
we love
a great parent.
We are dry January, so it might be a little while before
do you really do like not even weekends?
Yeah, this is
like during Lent, like if you ask our friends, some of our friends like John McCormick, because Sunday doesn't count in Lent. But
no, our attempt is to just go dry January, which
I could do it.
It's not like we were in a bad state because we were sick for most of December, so it wasn't like we were partying it up.
No.
But we'll just have a nice.
You don't need to. I know
renewal season.
I do know people who do it, and it makes a big difference in their overall appearance because they lose all this extra whatever it is there. You guys don't need to do it. I could do it, but I have too many social engagements.
Oh, obviously.
And it's just the pressure.
Well, look at me. Yeah. I'm going to have to get through the primaries. How's that going to work?
It's the longest month of your life. Okay.
Give me your best mocktail, bartender.
You gave a list.
Yeah. Okay. So,
shall I ask you? You want me to ask you first?
I'll ask you.
Okay.
And then we
can
go.
Yeah. Okay.
We're going to do a couple questions about New Year's and how we're thinking about New Year's.
Okay.
I attempt resolutions, but usually it's more of just by what process am I going to make myself slightly more organized than I was last year? That's usually what I'm going for.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not a consistent person, as we've discussed many times, but I try every year to get just a little better handle. So anyway, that being said, number one, do you have a number one goal for this year?
Yes. I'd like to get new blinds for the house.
That's a good one.
They've been the same blinds.
By the way, we're going to realize during this process how boring we are.
No, I mean, I went for my initial answer.
It's a good thing we tell a joke and have a cocktail every now and then.
I know. We should be having it now because this has a feel of it. But I'll tell you what. Initially, I said I want to stay healthy, which is obviously important to me because I'm a mess, and I really would like to come up with a book idea. But then I thought to myself, just now for some reason the blinds came up.
I also have a window dressing related goal Because we don't have curtains in our living
What do
room,
you have?
and we need them. We have blinds, but we don't have
Okay.
curtains.
Yeah, we don't.
And my
have
husband's gonna be like,
curtains
"It's
either.
so foo-foo. You don't need curtains."
We don't have
but
curtains. I don't do. We have one valance left in one side of that. This is all from the original owners.
You have a valance
A
left
one.
from the original.
One
I love
valance. Okay,
Just
so what
hang-
about you? Do you have a goal?
that. Number one goal. Okay, so there is my perennial goal that I will become a more responsible human being. Look, I've had 4 kids. My brain's rewired every time I have a dang kid, and I have to get it back under control and into some system. So every year I'm trying something different. You guys remember I had a quarterback sleeve for a while. I'm actually thinking about re-implementing that because I do need
It's
something
helpful.
to write things down on quickly
Tony
while
Romo.
I'm running around.
Uh-huh.
I also have added in the past year. I added the Skylight family calendar. It's a touchscreen calendar that is in our dining room,
Okay.
and it has everybody in the family has a different color. So if Holly has a pediatrician appointment, it's one color. The older kids, different colors,
Yeah.
and I'm light green. Steve's dark green. It's a lovely thing.
It is
Anyway.
hard to keep track of.
So you
It's
can
true.
see everyone's
Yeah.
crap
Yeah.
in one place. So I've worked on that. But I would say maybe my number one goal is to get more consistent about writing. I need to be turning out something.
That is every writer's goal
I
every
know,
year.
I know, and it's so hard. And have you ever read Stephen King's On Writing?
Of course.
It's a great book. Great book. And one of the things he says is like you just have to write every day.
Yes.
You have to write every day.
Ray Bradbury says the same thing. 1,000 words a day. I read this I didn't read. I read Fahrenheit 451, but no, I did. This was from Ray Bradbury has a new book on his correspondence.
Oh, okay.
And so just try to do that as like regular. You know what it's like though. It's like working out, and the longer you go without it, the harder it is to get back.
Your
on.
muscles. And then I have a very perfectionist
Story of my
streak,
life, yeah.
as many writers do, which then makes me go, this is not perfect, and I hate it.
Well, no, and there's that, but of course, when you finally do file it, it's a wonderful review. And the
Thank
other
you.
thing is, being an editor can easily be a crutch as well, because you're always editing something.
Yes.
So you get to your own stuff later.
Yeah.
And if you don't have editors, do not have largely a deadline for their own writing assignments.
True.
So it's self-imposed, and not a lot of people are great at self-imposed deadlines. They need a gun to that.
Thanks. That makes me feel better. 'Cause, speaking of which, I read a book last year that was about like I have some executive function, missing pieces.
Okay.
One of my kids also has challenges with this. We have a similar brain chemistry, and so I started a book on January 1st of last year about like how to help.
Yes.
And how I could have better executive function. I could help her to have better executive function. Do you know when I finally sort of finished that book?
When?
I believe it was on the evening of December 31st. Because you got to have that deadline.
Yes.
I should actually double check that, make sure I actually finished it so I can put it on my,
good.
list. Okay. A big lesson you learned in 2023.
This is interesting. I just threw these on the spot because you just sent these this morning.
I like to give you a very tight deadline.
Yes, and it works maybe. I thought find your value add, which is, it's easy to coast along doing what you do. If you have a very set job, you just do the job, and if it's fine, it's fine. You just keep on doing it. And then I stopped to think of what is it that I'm really good at, and I found out what it was. Well, many things, but the one thing, professionally speaking, I like to look at Jennifer's face when I said that. Professionally speaking, I'm old,
right?
But I'm the oldest person here in the office.
Obviously.
There's a lot of people who are, we have great political reporters and editors. They're doing their thing and the research, and they're killing it here, especially at the Free Beacon. What I do know are a lot of people, and what I wanted to do was bring a lot of great writers to the Beacon. And I realized, having been in the business now for 25, 26 years, 27 years, it's something I can do.
Yeah. That
And when
Vic
I
Mattis
call-
relationship
when I ask-
building over years
and-
of martinis.
Oh yes, actually, and it helps to be I'm a nice editor. I'm a pretty good editor. Depends, but largely I get along with writers. You try to be nice. You always want to compliment the writers because writers are needy, and they respond well. And so I've gotten some great feedback. So I've been very pleased, and it's just about this is something that I could do. And organizing the Weekend Beacon, which I can do, and you can check out and sign up for the newsletter. Is my own little section, and I have a lot of fun doing it. And that's what I
Nice.
learned. How about you?
I feel like you're mentoring over there, Vic. That's what you're doing.
Well, that's why I'll be mentoring this week. This is why we're doing a special episode because I'm going to a conference to mentor.
You gotta do the mentoring. Okay. A lesson I learned this year. Okay. Right. This is my controversial parenting opinion. I learned this year that I think 2 under 2 is easier than a newborn and a toddler, a full-blown toddler. Everybody says like, oh, 2 under 2, 2 under 2. And don't get me wrong. I want to take credit for my valiant efforts this year, raising 2 under 2 for a full 9 months before the older one turned 2.
How many months are the 2 under 2 apart then?
Oh, I guess they're
10 months. They're 10 months.
14. I think they're 14.
14?
13 or 14.
Man, it's practically Irish.
Yeah.
My kids are 22 months apart. So that's his 2 under 2.
Yeah.
And I remember Kate being very worried about like taking care of one while one needs to use the bathroom or something or other. How's it going to work alone?
So here's my thought.
The older one gets older.
Yes, but here's my thought.
I don't mean that physically. I mean mentally.
A 14-month-old, when the new baby comes, very few opinions. 14-month-olds aren't deeply engaged in like, I need this thing at this moment.
The mind games.
You know who is? A 27-month-old, right? A just turned 2 has far more opinions than a 14-month-old. Yeah. The 14-month-old, you sort of seamlessly bring this newborn into the child's life. The child is not greatly disturbed by this.
Yeah.
Can't express a ton of things, which is how you like your children, you know?
Yeah.
Seen, not heard.
Yes,
and things went fairly smoothly for us. I would also say that on these kids, because my husband is far more consistent than I am, they have a really good schedule where they nap at a certain time and they go to bed at night at a certain time, and we do it in the same room. Look at us. Those 2 kids are in the same room, same nap time, same bedtime. And we are thriving.
You're crushing it.
Now, that being said, we're going to have our bumps in the road, but those are 2 lessons that I learned.
Oh, okay.
Because my first 2, I'm like loosey-goosey on the schedule, right?
How far apart are they?
They're a little over 2 years. Yeah. And they were naturally pretty decent sleepers, but I think these 2 have them beat because they're on this very predictable schedule. Yeah. So I learned those 2 things. Okay. And don't be scared. If you're having 2 under 2, you'll be fine.
Yes.
Also, do I remember half this year? Probably not. So who knows? You can't trust my word.
Okay.
All right. Ooh, the biggest risk you took this year.
I would say,
and by that I mean last year.
Yes. I would say, professionally speaking, it was deciding to do a newsletter.
Nice.
So our friend Andy Ferguson had told me, for us olds, if you're putting up all this, these great content writers that we're interested in who review some interesting books, etc., you need to maybe send an email to those who might be interested because not everybody's on Twitter all the time. And that's all I had been doing. So I started to think about it, and I sent out a list to about 20 to 30 close friends and said, is anyone interested? Let me know. And a bunch of people said, yes, please add me on. And then I couldn't just do an email saying, here's what's in this week, blah, blah, blah. Then I started to get creative with it and do my typical shtick, which is, I like I would do my scripts for the Sub Beacon and things. And then it just morphed into a newsletter. And then when it was ready, like, okay, I'm confident about this. Then I finally admitted it to shared it with our boss, Eliana. She was very kind. She loved it, and so did our other friends.
Nice.
And then it became a thing, and then it grew to almost 900 newsletter subscribers now. And then now it's just melded with the general
He's
morning
huge,
Beacon
guys.
people.
He's
so
huge.
that was a big thing because now it's an added thing that I do.
Well, and it's a deadline for you.
It is a deadline.
You have your own real deadline.
Deadline is today. How about you?
Let's see. Biggest risk. I mean, I would say that the first part of this year was full of like, I think I'll have a baby and leave CNN. So it's like 2 major upheavals at one time. Yeah. I didn't decide to move houses, so we didn't add that one to the list.
That's good.
We stayed in the same house, so we're all just like packed in there. But I don't know. I deal pretty well with change and with unpredictability.
Okay.
So I felt like, I'll land on my feet.
Okay.
We'll figure this out. I got a podcast. And as often happens with these things, having left CNN, I had a wider range of things open to me that I could say yes to. I got to do Bill Maher's show for the at least one, maybe two of the January primaries. I will be on NBC broadcast, so you can watch me there. And I've gotten the chance to do some like other projects in the works that I don't have to ask anybody permission to do.
One door closed,
we'll see,
and multiple doors opened.
Yes. So like that, it is what it is. I feel like I've been because I've been through the fire with my personal life in the past in 2015 when I lost my husband. Like everything changed, and I had a brand new baby. I feel like anything that's less than that, I'm like, yeah, we'll roll through this. Right. There are times when it's very stressful, but I feel the capacity to keep moving. All right. Away you grew emotionally this year. By the way, I should say I stole this list from modernmomlife.com.
Oh, I'm answering questions from Modern Mom. Okay.
She had a nice list.
There's a good list. Okay. Keeping perspective and the importance of, you know what, all these other things, it's all gravy. You get through them. Yep. You got a lot of ups and downs with work or with home and all these challenges, etc. But you keep it in perspective because of things like her health.
Right.
And I think about it previously, even though I had my surgery to remove the tooth underneath my nose.
Your alien tooth.
My alien tooth. That was in November. Oh my goodness. Over a year ago now. So that was at the end of 2022. But I still had other things going on. I had a procedure. If you remember, I had the procedure. And I came through that procedure with flying colors.
Look at you.
And I thought to myself, just be thankful for that. And because a lot of, you go into those procedures with a lot of dread, anxiety, and people know this, and I'm sure a lot of people have been through this, and you just worry about when you come to, what are they going to say if it's not good news? And so that's more of a being grateful. But because of that, I have to remind myself, you know what? I'll get the sciatica. I'll probably get through that. Emphasis probably. How about you, Mary Catherine?
And you can get on with your power press.
Yes.
So let's see. I would say, well, I like you bringing up perspective. And one of the things I'm attempting to do this year is I signed up for the Bible in a Year podcast.
That sounds like a very Protestant thing.
No, it's not.
What?
It's done. This is what's surprising. It's done by Father Mike Schmitz.
Oh, I apologize.
Yes, you should.
Yeah.
But it's a podcast that does a couple chapters per day.
Yeah.
And
which we're supposed to. We're told this as Catholics.
Right. I mean, same, right? And it's very hard to implement that in your life. So this is a daily podcast. I'm very good at listening to podcasts. I know. I don't want to brag, but I can passively listen to information while I'm folding laundry. That is the thing I enjoy doing. And so I'm listening to him read me the scripture. And then I try to read along with it as well. So you're taking it in two different ways. It has a little bit of his thoughts afterwards about
that's good.
The context of the scripture. And so, again, this requires consistency. But people on Twitter gave me a couple of tips about how to do it. Like, for instance, setting the alarm before your kids wake up so you can just listen to it in the morning. That's tough, but probably a smart way to start my day. And that I think, could help me emotionally grow by allowing me to have perspective every day.
Mary Catherine.
By doing
that.
You. Okay. This one I'm interested in. I don't like number 5. I think it's boring.
Okay.
But number 6.
The answer to number 5 was stretch. Thank you. You'll never know what the question is. Right.
What was the best advice you received this year?
This is interesting.
2023. Sorry, guys.
Yes. I can't remember if it was last year, but it's something I started to do last year, which is not to salt my meat until it's ready to be grilled.
Look at that.
Because practical. I used to, you got to, first of all, you want your meat to be room temperature. If we're talking steaks and roasts, before you go in, right? He has more of an even cooking. But then I would also season it early on. Take a steak or a burger, you put all the salt on, and it dries out the meat, apparently, if you do that too early.
Yeah.
So really, it's just before you throw it in, put in that salt and whatever else, and sparing on the pepper before it's cooked, because if you do it ahead of time with some black pepper, it can lead to a little bit more bitterness, apparently. Okay. So that was my thing I learned. How about you?
Okay, this is going to sound very silly, but is practical.
Okay.
As was yours. My mom at home, when we go for Christmas, has a very organized an extensive wrapping station for presents. I do not have a wrapping station at my home. Now, I don't
You have a wrapping room.
Well, yeah, I don't, well, that's where I hide to do the presents.
Right.
But I don't have all the supplies in one place. And this is probably something that I should apply to many areas of my life, which is that if you just have the things in one place, you might actually do the thing you're supposed to do. So watching my mom build her very organized, lovely wrapping space reminds me that I should be doing the same, not just with wrapping in my own life, but staging things so that I am more likely to accomplish them. For instance, last night, I put my Bible and my notebook beside my bed in front of my phone, which is hidden behind those things.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
Maybe that's...
You didn't put the phone on top of the Bible.
Now, this is not advice that my mother actually gave me. This is advice that I just gleaned from watching her live her life in a more fruitful way than I have been.
It's the first thing that most of us do in the morning. We check the phone, It's a terrible thing.
It's not a good habit. I've been trying to break it. Okay. Let's see. What is a new skill you'd like to learn this year?
Making sushi. And the reason why I say this is 2 years ago, I got my daughter a sushi kit. She loves sushi, and I promised her we would make it. It's been 2 years. AITA? Okay. So I keep on telling her, we'll find time. We'll get time. It's like
honey,
that
I have a lot
song.
of editing to do.
It's like the
cats in the cradle.
Yeah, cats in the cradle. And one day I'm gonna say to my daughter, let's make sushi. Sorry, Dad, I'm busy. Going out. So, but I've got it all. I've got all the ingredients.
Okay.
I've just
look. You can follow my mother's advice. Have everything in one place. Where you need to do
ready to do it. Okay.
Get on this. Okay.
How about you?
A skill I am going to learn this year. I'm going to rejoin daily my guitar cult, which I of course dropped.
Of course you were supposed to be like Jimmy Page by now.
I almost was. To be like, I almost was, Vic. So 10 minutes a day. Yeah. I gotta get it back together, Vic. I gotta get back into this.
Good.
I am going to earn the skill of
I'm looking forward to be
mediocre chord strumming.
No, you would be. I figured by now you're like Les Paul, Chet Atkins. Okay.
Also, every year I'm like, what I should do? I should learn to ski, and I keep getting older and older and not doing it.
I would love to ski. And our former colleague from the Free Beacon many years ago, Natalie Johnson, went to Colorado to become a ski instructor.
I know. I saw her life on New Year's Eve, and
Me
I was
too.
like, why haven't I ditched my life to be a ski instructor in Wyoming, aside from the fact that I cannot ski? But
No. So I just got my ticket. I'm going out there. No, sorry. I can't. All right.
A week-long.
For many reasons.
Week-long instructing session.
Something you want to do for someone next year, Mary Catherine.
By the way, I should say I can a little bit ski. Just not very.
I've never skied.
Well, I'm like Bunny Course and I'm Bunny Hills and I'm still like yikes.
Yeah, Kate loves skiing. I don't know. I've never done this.
Okay. My husband. You know what we should do? Couple trip to ski. You and I will just sit in the lodge and they can do their thing.
Thank God you didn't use the word swap. I got nervous there. Okay, we should just swap. What? Okay.
That is not a skill I'm going to learn this year.
Something you want to do for someone next year.
Something I want to do for someone next year.
Kindness, charity, or just,
Actually, so this is a thing I struggle with, which is that because I am not a super organized person and I have 4 kids, I think on one hand that can be good because it limits overscheduling your family. Because a lot of people, especially in this area, are super overscheduled. Their kids are just doing things constantly. Yeah. I don't want my kids doing things constantly. Yeah. I don't want them in like high intensity super competitive travel sports unless that is truly something that they want to do. So we have not been on that track. We've also not been on that track because I'm not good at scheduling things. Yeah. What I would like to give to them is for me to work harder at making sure that they can do 1 or 2 extracurricular things that I'm not great at putting on the calendar, but I think we can manage it and it would be good for them and for me. Good. Because I will just put things off and put things off. And they do want to try new things and new activities. So
it takes effort from us, though.
It does.
Like, okay, we'll go.
Like, can't I just send you out into the neighborhood and you like try to learn to skateboard or something? Here's some pads.
Like there.
I brought you some elbow pads.
I'll be inside. I would like to take my dad. We try a couple times a year for my dad to spend like a week with us down here because he lives all the way up in Jersey, and I'd like to do that again in the spring and take him to maybe Annapolis, which he's never been to.
That's a great trip.
He can't walk as much as he used to, but I just need to walk to the closest restaurant, really. Otherwise, I think it would be nice. Yeah. I mean, if he wants, you know, I mean, old people in general do not want to cave and do the wheelchair. They don't want to do the wheelchair thing. They hate the wheelchair thing. I would use it right now.
Is there like a golf cart tour of the Naval Academy?
The Naval Academy could do that. Yeah. So that's
have some midshipmen just like carry
push
them around.
Push them around. Okay.
You know.
Something you want to do differently?
Something I want to do differently this year. I mean, I've talked about a lot of things. One thing we were talking about right before the show is that perhaps I should cuss less. I don't know.
Well, you don't. This is a family show, and you never cuss on the show.
Well, I don't on the show. Well, I do occasionally on the show when it calls for it.
Yeah.
But that's the standard I would like to get to in my everyday life. Like, let's only maybe cuss when it calls for it, instead of all the time.
Do the kids hear a lot of it in certain words? Are there certain words that are absolutely verboten?
No, they hear a lot. This is a thing that I'm not great about, and I concede that. And my kids are nonetheless do not mouth off and end up repeating these words. But, you know, I have a toddler now, and she will if I'm not careful.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Kate, she is a little bit like you from time to time, and she'll drop a bomb, right? If she's, you know, something she's worked up over. I'm pretty good about not doing that. But one time, this was several years ago, we had our friends, the Laybashes, over, and Matt Laybash, as you know, and the kids were young, and they remembered, they still remember that Mr. Laybash once said that effing effer. And he was talking with somebody that...
See, I don't think that would register with my kids.
Yeah, okay.
They'd be like,
they'd be like, oh, normal?
Birds of a feather, Mom.
All right. What do you have a word for next year?
Ugh. Do we have a word for next year? I mean, we are technically wordsmiths, so I guess we should have one. Are you ready for
this?
Okay.
I'll tell you words that I will not use.
Okay.
Because my kids tell me that in their school, these are... there's so many words that I hear that we don't know. We're like, you know, they're way beyond us now.
Okay.
So apparently... and he says if old people try to use it, it's cringe, you know. So, for example, madcapper is a liar, a madcapper.
Oh, yeah.
I've never heard that.
Cat means lie.
Yeah.
But I hadn't heard madcapper before.
And here are two words that they were told in schools that they shouldn't use in the public school. One, maybe you've heard this. One is gyat.
Yes, I know that one.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you know these? They're very Catholic. You're so hip. It means butt, right? It means butt?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or should I bleep that?
No. I think it's an acronym that means something slightly more dirty.
I don't think they know what the acronym is because they just told me they were told not to say that word. Oh, and the other
I believe it's short for, and this is a cuss word, so everybody get ready. Gyat damn.
Oh. Yeah. Really? Oh, okay.
And then I think it also can be an accent. It has flexible uses.
Okay, yeah.
But I think like, I might be exposing my ignorance here, but I do think that is the origin.
Okay,
like, you see an ass, and you're like, yeah, damn.
Wow. Thank you. And the other one?
After this, I'm not going to cuss anymore, guys.
Okay, and the other one, apparently, is zesty.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Apparently, zesty means gay.
Oh.
So you can't say, oh, so-and-so is zesty.
Well, I don't feel like I would say so-and-so.
No, my sauce is zesty.
Oh, no.
I know. What? Okay, that didn't mean
bleep that out.
Okay. What do you want to go next year?
Okay. 2 more questions.
Yeah.
A place you would like to visit next year?
I've been meaning to go back to Costa Rica, which I'd been to before I was married. One of my college housemates, Juan Carlos Rojas, lives there, and I had the greatest time both times. Whitewater rafting, the whole thing. I mean, it was like adventure. And because he's a local, you're not, you know, we stayed at a hotel for a little bit, and then we went into the interior, you know. And climbed on top of a volcano, did stuff like this. And I'd love to bring my family. In particular, it'd be great to see my friend now because he owns a soccer team.
Ooh, so fun.
Yeah. And they treat you right.
Yes.
And it's a very nice and a very safe country. How about you?
2. I usually I have been in the habit in the past of taking at least the older girls before the babies out to my friend Kelly's house north of Denver, where she has a little farm each summer, and we just do like Camp Kelly, and they milk goats and hang around. So if the babies are manageable for this summer, maybe I would like to get that on the calendar. And 2, my husband has occasion to be in Germany for his job now. Now it's hard, of course, for us to get an international trip on the books, but I would like to tag along if possible.
Me too.
On one of those.
Can I go?
Yes. Actually, he'd probably be like,
I could be
Vicar
his.
and Kay.
I could be his. Well, it's a two-way, and I could also be his interpreter.
True. I think he would enjoy that. Okay. And also, can I just brag about him for a moment? He should give classes in gift giving.
Oh.
He's extremely good at it. Now, the PowerPress, obviously.
So thoughtful.
Yours.
He really
is
is
extremely thoughtful human. And for Christmas, for my parents, he told me, don't worry about it. I got it. I'm knocking this one out.
Did you even know what it was then?
I did not know what it was until it arrived at our house. But I said, okay. Like I got them a little something too, but I thought, you know, Steve is trustworthy.
Yeah.
Here's what he did. At one point, he and my dad had a conversation while cooking dinner or something about where my parents met. They met at Ramstein Air Base. And they met because my dad went to the library to, I think, return a copy of Steppenwolf and pick up. He had just gotten to town. He had just gotten stationed there. And to pick up a local travel book. Yeah. So that he could read about the area. And so Steve found a 1956, so it would have been of the era. It would have been about 10 or 12 years old when my parents were at Ramstein. Travel book.
Oh my gosh.
At the Ramstein Air Base Library, which he talked a librarian into letting him purchase and have sent to our home, at which point he gave it to my parents as like, I don't know if this is the book, but it is from Ramstein of the era that you would have gone to the library to meet your future wife. And it's like got all the little places that they used to visit in it, and it's got maps from the time.
What was their reaction?
Oh, they were very excited.
Did he get to the point? Because I have to what's the word I'm looking for? Reel myself in. Is that what it is? A little bit, because you're almost tempted to say, "Here's my gift to you, me alone."
This is like Steve will annoy you because he's very disciplined about this, whereas I would be like, now it's time.
Yes, exactly. Yes,
fabulous present.
Yes. Praise me.
He's
love
like,
me.
oh yeah, I picked that up for you guys.
All right.
Well, with a much deeper voice than that. I didn't mean to sound. Oh yeah, I picked that up for you guys. Anyway, very cool gift.
Wonderful.
I'd
love to see
I encourage him, if he were on social media, he could have an Instagram that was just like, here's a reel about how you give decent presents, and he would like have 1 million followers. That's what he always says. He always says if he was on social media,
he'd be wearing
he'd kill all.
And he'd also be wearing a tight shirt. And then he'd be okay, and now we're going to combine that with it. You get this gift, the PowerPress. Let me show you how it works.
Yes, and honestly, I've thought about using him for that. Like, Steve, go do some chores, and I will videotape you and then put it on Instagram. So.
You had one more question?
That's my gift to him. Okay, the last one was, what was the best book you read in 2023 so that people who maybe have a reading goal for this year can put it on their list?
Yes. I'll tell you what I did not like, which was John Updike's Rabbit Run. I get it, but not my cup of tea.
Not your thing.
I finish? I think I finally finished Bonfire of the Vanities last year.
I like that book.
That's a great book. Also, Joan Didion, Slouching Towards Gomorrah. But
I don't believe I've ever read that one. I've read Year of Magical Thinking, but I haven't read.
Yeah, that's okay. How about you?
I think I mentioned it before, but I'm just going to tell it to you guys because it was an unexpected delight, which is the Beanie Baby book.
Oh, yeah, Zach Bissonette.
By Zach Bissonette. Yeah. It was just colorful and wild, and the economics are interesting.
Shout out there.
And it's a sort of a microcosm or a synecdoche for all sorts of booms that happen in bigger ways of the psychology of that. Yes. So you learn a lot about economics.
Yes.
And just
Tulips.
Like the people involved are interesting.
Yeah.
So, and if you lived through that time, it's like.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. On that note, Happy New Year to our listeners. We hope that this gave you enough pause, maybe answered some of these questions that we threw out as well, and
if you have tips for us to be better people, just send them along.
Yeah. The last episode of this year, we're going to go back to this list and say, did we actually follow through with any of it? That's the
MK, how's the cussing going?
Yeah, right. Did you make any sushi? Okay. That wraps up this episode of Getting Hammered. Remember, you can subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter at Victorino Mattis.
I'm at MKHammer on Instagram, at MKHammer on Twitter, at MKHammerTime on Instagram. You can follow the show at Getting Hammered Podcast on YouTube or Instagram. And I should be Jimmy Page within a couple of months. Thanks for getting hammered responsibly. This has been a Nebulous Media Podcast.